morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. This beautiful 22nd day of May 2023. Today is Monday and it brings forth it's pregnant with a lot of things. There's a lot of things that we're looking forward to today. There's a lot of things that we're all looking forward to as Nigerians this week. It's transition week, so there's just pregnant with a whole lot of things. But then this is Mainland 98.3 FM. You're welcome to Trends in the Papers. And this is the part where we'll be getting to talk about the major trending stories on the front pages of our dailies. I have The Guardian, The Punch, New Telegraph, and Vanguard newspaper. My name is OMOBOLA Sandra. I'll be having FUAD SAHEED joining in via the phone line to give analysis to every one of our stories. But before then, it is very imperative that I bring you up to speed as regards what trended over the in the papers over the weekend. That's our tradition here. Every Monday, we try to, tell you what exactly, do some sort of ofufo as regards what happened over the weekend. All right, major trending stories over the weekend. We have the president appoints Madei as first female accountant general. And we also have outgoing senators, reps, aides to get 30.2 billion naira severance allowances. Legislators head home with official vehicles worth 5.5 billion naira. Oh, that is what a job. What a job. Federal government sacks FAN MD Yadudu, names Kabir Yusuf Mohammed as replacement. We also have here May 29, EFCC uncovers plan by governors, ministers, and others to escape. Don't know what they're escaping from, but we also have here El Rufai, Governor of Kaduna State, saying, I will sack workers, demolish till 11th hour in office. Only El Rufai can speak truth to power in Nigeria, says Nyesom Wike, Governor of Governor of Rivers State. Court voids nominations of Labour Party's only governor-elect and others. Alex Oti sues for calm, says inauguration unaffected. That's a case that I think we have some sort of updates this morning. NDDC chair and MD fights dirty at Senate over alleged corruption. A lot's happening in the Niger Delta region. Failed Abuja CCTV project. Court orders Buhari government to account for $460 million Chinese loan. There's a lot that should be accounted for, but who's asking? Presidential Tribunal. Tinubu Obi Atiku INEC to call 237 witnesses. As Atiku lists 100 witnesses, Obi lists 50, Tinubu 39, APC 25, Shetima 21, and INEC 2. We also have Tinubu returns set to tackle National Assembly leadership tussle. Federal government outgoing governors in last-minute 3.7 trillion naira contract bazaar and appointment spree. Incoming administration to face cash crunch, serious challenges, says civil society organizations. Despite opposing Tinubu's election, I will pray for him as president, says Body George. I will soon be appreciated for saving Labour Party, says embattled, I don't know if to call him the national chairman or acting national chairman, but that's coming from Lamidi Apapa. We also have here Buhari, Bajabi Amila Ogun Mon as Shubomi Balogun dies at 89. President, wife, son spent over 250 days abroad for treatment. The government says pay rise for National Association of Resident Doctors to halt strike. Navy needs 6.9 billion naira yearly to maintain fleet for maximum operations at sea. Pencom recovers 384 million naira from 34 defaulting employers. Provide evidence. I demand $2 million bribe from you. Okay. Provide evidence I demanded $2 million bribe from you. Bawa Des Matawale. Over $7.5 billion spent on transmission, yet darkness persists. Electricity under Buhari. Well, those are the major trending stories over the weekend. We thought to bring you up to speed whilst we go into the major trending stories for the day. It was quite an interesting one on Political Roundtable yesterday where, the gentlemen at the table took a very cursory look into the performance of this current administration, looking at three major sectors that the president said he promised himself. it said that the other promises were made by the party, so he shouldn't be held responsible for those ones, but he should be held responsible for what he promised us for. All right, just as mentioned earlier, today is May 22nd. It's the day that history will be made as Dangote Refinery will be inaugurated this morning or today by the President, Muhammad Buhari. We're also looking forward to smooth transition later on in the week. Let's go through the trending stories from the papers. But before then, we'll say good morning to our dear analyst, FUAD SAHEED, who has been waiting on the sidelines. Good morning, FUAD.
Yeah, good morning, Sandra. How are you doing?
I am well, thank you very much. I'm excited. I might see the president today.
Yeah, a good one, good one. The president will be in Lagos today, to inaugurate and commission the Dangote Refinery. Finally.
The much talked about Dangote Refinery. Speaking of Dangote Refinery, the major headline on the front page of The Guardian says, high expectations as Dangote breaks NNPC's monopoly, shrinks European Union supply to Africa. There's a whole lot of expectations for high expectations. What are your expectations? Are you cautiously expecting, or you're like, man, it's a private business, I really don't care? What's your stand?
Well, to start with, I like to congratulate Alhaji Aliko Dangote and the Dangote Group of companies for achieving this very wonderful feat. I must say it's a record-breaking feat. To have a refinery that can do 650,000 barrels per day in sub-Saharan Africa, I think almost one of the largest in the whole world. It's something that we need to commend if you understand how businesses are structured. And then, of course, the climate that we operate in, you must also give him some credit for achieving that feat. You remember when I think one of the refineries in Nigeria was sold to him, and the sale was revoked by the government. That was actually one of the reasons why he said he was going to build his own refinery. If you remember, just while leaving the government, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo had sold one of the refineries to Dangote, but it was revoked by the government of Yaradua, the late Yaradua. And for people that know about the story, Dangote has said that singular act was the reason why he decided that he was going to build his own. And, now there's a Dangote refinery. It will be commissioned today. I think it's a good one. It's a good one for Africa. It's a good one for Nigeria. But on the issue of the oil sector in Nigeria, because again, one would think that, look, our major concern really, or interest in this Dangote refinery will be our local needs when it comes to PMS and other products like diesel and the rest. That, look, would the inauguration of the Dangote refinery resolve all our problems when it comes to the supply of petroleum, refined fuel, diesel, kerosene, aviation fuel, and others? I really don't think so, because again, even the owner of the refinery himself had always said that, look, he's not obliged to sell to the local market. The Dangote refinery is situated in a free trade zone, so look, its operations are not bound by Nigerian law. And because it's a private business, the only stake we have as a country, which the NNPC has been able to do, is to take a 20% stake that I don't think will be enough to take care of our local needs. I'm actually going to be waiting, cautiously optimistic about the prospect of the Dangote refinery as far as resolving our local needs when it comes to PMS supply. I'll be cautiously optimistic because, again, this is a private business. We don't have a complete control over that refinery. And because it's a private business and it's not charity and it needs to make profit, I doubt if it's going to be focused on helping to resolve our problems when it comes to local needs with PMS and other products. But again, it is in Nigeria. It's a refinery in Nigeria. And if government cannot do it, we have a private investor that has been able to do it. And so we just have to wait to see how it works eventually.
All right.
But again, congratulations to Alhaji Aliko Dangote for doing it.
All right. I'm also going to look at it from this perspective. Europe has been relying on Nigeria for quite a while for crude export due to sanctions placed on Russia after the Russia-Ukraine war started. So due to this reliance or heavy reliance on crude exports from Nigeria, don't you think one way or the other it's going to shrink supply to Europe, because now Nigeria also has to be one of the countries that supplies crude to Dangote refineries?
I think the NMPC would have to look at its own operational model and see whether to sell to Europe will be more profitable or to sell to Dangote refinery. Again, what we do basically per day now is about 1 million barrels per day. And if the Dangote refinery can take about 750,000 barrels per day, it means that if we decide to sell, so if you decide to buy solely from Nigeria, if he decides to buy crude solely from Nigeria, it means that what we are left with to export will be maybe around 300,000 barrels per day. If you understand what I'm saying. But it would have to be dependent on what the NMPC is looking at. Again, they have a 20% stake in that refinery. So it's just about profit and loss now. Are you going to be, if you sell to Europe, would it be more profitable than selling to Dangote refinery? I think the management of NMPC would have to decide how they want to deal with that, going forward. But again, it's too early to say anything now. We don't understand the operational model of NMPC. Neither do we know the agreement they have with the Dangote refinery. So until the operations of Dangote refinery is fully kick-started, we can't say too much about that.
Well, what we have in the report is Nigeria currently sends about 547.5 million barrels of crude into the international market yearly. There's an agreement to supply 300,000 barrels per day to Dangote refinery, adding to
300,000. Okay.
Yes, that's the agreement. So the oil market will automatically face a shortfall of 109.5 million barrels yearly, with obligations to supply over 400,000 barrels per day, initially meant for refineries, for the refineries to contractors on the DSDP deal. The development could push Europe to rely more on Middle East and Asia to meet its supply, while the global market could have a close shortfall from Nigeria of about 700,000 barrels per day. It's a very long read. There are riders to it. Questions over subsidy as stakeholders say state refineries may become obsolete. Nigeria may save billions in freight cost as economy expects 9.7 trillion naira. And we have here, okay, all right. Buhari government overpromised and under-delivered on moribund refineries. I think there was a lot of conversation around that yesterday as regards, the promises. It says here also that the president, who did not bring to reality his pledges of overhauling state-owned refineries, will today be commissioning a private refinery. But then, questions over subsidy, as Dangote refinery is a kickstarts operations. What are your thoughts? Especially looking at the fact that with the emergence of Dangote refinery, do you think the federal government or Nigerian government will just totally abandon the state-owned refineries?
Well, again, it will be dependent on the option model that we have with Dangote refinery. What are the agreements we have? Now, you just read out that the NNPC has an agreement with the refinery to supply about 300,000 barrels per day of crude oil to that refinery. So if we are doing about 1 million barrels per day, it means that we are still going to sell about 700,000 to the outside world, wherever we sell it to. But when it comes to, refined products, it's important for us to know whether what Dangote refinery is able to produce will be enough to take care of our local needs. If it's able to take care of our local needs completely, then of course we may be seeing a situation where all of these issues of freight, logistics, landing costs, and all of that for importation of fuel will be a thing of the past. So we may see some form of stability when it comes to price. Again, we don't want to talk about subsidy removal, Sandra. I don't think any Nigerian is bothered about subsidy removal, other than the fact that if it is removed, without us having a model to take care of our local needs when it comes to PMS, prices are going to go up. That's the only fear people have about subsidy removal. Somehow we all agree that subsidy has become a conduit pipe for all manner of fraudulent activity. But the fear a lot of Nigerians have is that, look, if you remove subsidy the way you want to remove it, and we don't have a working model on how to take care of our local needs, and Forex continues to go up, the price of PMS will continue to go up, and Nigerians will not be able to bear it. So if we have a good arrangement with Dangote Refinery to take care of our local needs when it comes to PMS and other petroleum product supply, then we may see some level of stability and all of that. But I'm sorry, I think it's too early to decide or say anything yet on this Dangote Refinery thing. I think we just have to wait to see it start operation fully. Look at what the plans of the NNPC is, and all of that. I just think we just have to be a bit cautious with our optimism on Dangote Refinery.
All right, just a very quick one here. Okay, just a very quick one here. Nigeria's refineries are actually putting out 445,000 barrels per day. I'm trying to break what you said down as regards 1 million so we can have the understanding. We have 3 refineries, so that's what makes it that amount. So it's not like each refinery is the one producing the 1 million. I just thought to quickly put that out there. All right, let's move on from this story. It's a very interesting one. There's a lot, just as it's been reported, high expectations as Dangote breaks NNPC's monopoly and shrinks European Union supply to Africa. And let's also not forget that Dangote refineries, which is expected to, which we're expecting a 650 barrel per day operation from, is to be the biggest single refinery in the world. That's actually interesting. High hopes, high expectations. We look forward to what is to come in the nearest future. More details on page 6 of The Guardian. Moving on now, we also have here, still on the front page of The Guardian, May 29, security, economy, restructuring, Southeast peace, top list of demands from Tinubu. The story is also on page 6, and we have riders that Akinriade says we shouldn't expect him to address insecurity in a short time. Done. No option than to remove subsidy. Agbegbe, restructuring will be his legacy to Nigeria. Mbamara, he must address the Igbo question headlong to curb restiveness. So, ahead of the inauguration of the president-elect next week, Monday, May 29, Nigerians have expressed what they expect the incoming government to do to hit the ground running immediately after the handover. Topmost in their expectation is security challenges. Ranking second is demands on how to quickly fix what they describe as a comatose economy. Third is addressing the issue of restructuring and the governance system in the country, which many observers said would require the president-elect to treat not only with caution, but also with utmost sense of urgency. Also on the list of expectation is the need for the next president to address the Southeast question, as according to them, Nigeria cannot continue to ignore a quarter of its population and an entire region and expect to experience peace. All right. So 3 critical areas that some sort of agenda setting we're seeing here. Three critical areas that some Nigerians are expecting that the incoming government would focus on on assuming office: security, economy, and restructuring.
Well, when it comes to security, I think there are quick wins that this government, the incoming government, can focus on. Immediately they assume power, and that would be to immediately start to change the operational model of the military. Because again, when I say quick wins, the easiest thing that comes to mind is, you need to replace the service chiefs the way they are currently structured. But I think that we've always replaced service chiefs, we've always changed the head of the military, and nothing has improved. So when I say quick wins, it has to be, look, what is the situation on ground really? Where are the troubled areas? What is the willingness to do the right thing? And when I say quick wins again, it's about really punishing people now. Who are those fomenting this trouble? How do we quickly go after them and ensure that they are punished? The impunity of, not arresting people, not getting them punished for all these activities is the reason why we seem not to be making a headway. in the fight against insurgency, banditry, kidnapping, and all of that. So he needs to put his feet down. That look, there's a new sheriff in town. If you are caught for any act of banditry, kidnapping, or anything, you will be punished, heavily. So when they begin to see people prosecuted, people being, taken serious about prosecuting and jailing people for all manner of activities like this, and I think some people will see sides and recoil. So I think we need to see some deliberate effort from the government to really solve the issue of insecurity. The long-term agenda would be for us to restructure our security arrangements in the country by devolving power properly. I've always said it. We need to go into the issue of state policing seriously. We cannot run this central policing system and expect it to work. It's not working. And if it has not worked for the past 24 years, it will not work going forward. So we need to unbundle the policing structure we have, whether we like it or not, whether it is subject to abuse or not. We need to experiment with the idea of state policing because, again, from the issue of banditry, even the unrest in the southeast, the northeast, the north central, we have seen that local intelligence is very important to policing, proper policing in the country. And the best way to go about it is to ensure we devolve that power to local authorities. How we are going to go about that, the model will be left for the government to sort out. So I agree completely that security is a major challenge that it needs to face headlong, and we can only be hopeful. When it comes to the economy, really, there's a lot on the table. For me, the quick wins would be for him to go into the oil sector and quickly fix the problem of subsidy. How he wants to do that, I don't know. The idea of I'm going to remove subsidy, whether anybody likes it or not, I know it's not going to fly. Unless he has a model that will ensure the removal of subsidy without inflicting pain on Nigerians. I don't know. Maybe there are things Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu knows that we don't know. Luckily, he has worked in the oil sector before, so it's expected I understand the sector very well. So if he has a model that will see the removal of subsidy without pains on Nigerians, and when I say pains now, number one is that the price of petroleum products does not go up. If he's able to remove subsidy and stabilize the price, then I think Nigerians will not bother. Like I said, I think a lot of Nigerians are tired. We are not even beneficiaries of this fraudulent subsidy regime. So nobody cares really. So if he's able to quickly resolve that, and also ensure that, look, we are able to produce enough crude so that we can earn enough forex. I think this will be quick wins for him. But going forward, there are bigger issues to consider. The issue of infrastructure deficit is still there. The power sector is a complete sham as we speak. He needs to fix that. He needs to look at diversifying the economy, which is a very big one. It could be a long-term plan. So there is a lot on the table for him. And then the third one, sorry, remind me, Sandra, on this agenda setting.
We have restructuring, we have Southeast peace in the Southeast.
Yes. I agree completely that, look, it's not only the Southeast, Sandra. There are agitations all over the country. But the one that has been the loudest has been the agitation from the Southeast. I think the first quick win for me would be the incoming president looking at a political solution to this Nnamdi Kanu issue. He needs to look at that particular issue and find a way to resolve it. There are always political solutions to these things, and I think he should quickly look at that particular issue and resolve it going forward. And then address the agitations of the Southeast. I think one of the things that people have always said is that, look, why is it that it's only the Southeast that still has 5 states, where other zones have 6 states or more? The Northwest, for example, has 7 states. Others have 6 states. It's only the Southeast that has 5 states. So we need to address that. Then he also needs to address developmental issues in the Southeast. But like I've always said, it's not just the federal government that has to address developmental concerns of the Southeast. The governors need to also step up, because it's not just about the federal government. These governors also get allocations. What exactly did they do with their allocations? So there can't be a unified developmental master plan for the Southeast, just as we also have to look at the North Central, the Northwest, the Northeast. So there's a lot really about agitations and how to address them. So a lot on the table of the incoming president to deal with, but again, we hope he's going to be able to hit the ground running, put a team that has the mental capacity and technical capacity to address these concerns.
Well, thank you very much. FUAD, more details on pages 6 and 31 of the Guardian newspaper. Let's keep moving now. Have a lot to talk about. We also have here higher mortgage rates dampen real estate affordability and investments. The story is on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. It's a very long read. It's the entire page. Continued hike in interest rates by CBN is having multiple effects on the mortgage market as it raises the cost of financing across all different segments of the real estate sector. Get your details on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. We also have here 5,000 distressed residential office properties flood real estate market. That is on page 27. Yes, on page 27 of the Guardian newspaper. Just very quickly, it says here there seems to be disquiet in the real estate market as some online property marketing platforms display over 5,000 distressed residential and office buildings which they are seeking buyers for their owners. The rise in distressed property listings in major cities such as Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt has raised concerns about the status of the real estate market and Central Bank of Nigeria's raft of changes in financial policy on the sector, as the housing market had slowed down before the general elections. FUAD.
Well, essentially, the two stories.
Why are people selling buildings?
Well, of course, people have always sold buildings.
I had to take the two stories together because, one way or the other, they intertwine.
Well, the thing is this. It's important to put a proper structure to the property market. There are 3 levels. And so if you look at that report, the level that is most affected with these distressed properties without buyers, without people wanting to rent, will be the high-end market, because that market is actually overpriced. In fact, what we say is that it's artificial pricing, because again, you look at some of the prices put on some of those properties and you wonder what justifies the kind of pricing you get, in some of these locations. You go to high-end Ikoyi, Victoria Island, Lekki, and the pricing for me is completely artificial. There are no statistics to justify the kind of pricing you see in these locations. But the reality is
it's too low or it's too high?
Too high, really, okay. Too high, But again, a lot of the property owners are coming to the reality of the economy now, that nobody has that kind of money. In the past, I think about 15 or 20 years ago, you had a situation where property owners were so confident of the prospect of the property market that they were quoting in dollars. But now all of those dollarized properties have become naira nice. Now people are now quoting in naira, because nobody's ready to pay that kind of money again. So the reality is that there's a lot of challenge with the high-end property market at that level. But when it comes to the middle end and the lower end of the property ladder, the demand is still more than supply. Developers and property owners who function in that level, you find that they do well if they're able to put up proper products and price appropriately. So that's. But again, a lot of challenge in the property sector. I understand that there seems to be what you can call a lull at that level, but it doesn't mean the market is stagnant. No, it's still doing well. Because of the shortfall of supply, there's still a lot of demand, and the supply is not meeting up. But now, when it comes to mortgage, like every other thing, we talked about commercial loan last week, and now anybody will go into a commercial loan at almost 28% interest. Nobody's going to be able to do that. So the same thing affects the mortgage sector, because again, what does mortgage do? It tells people to buy property and gives them an opportunity to pay over a long period while they are occupying the property. But unfortunately, the interest rate in Nigeria does not even make anybody go into any form of mortgage. Because again, I think the last time I spoke with a mortgage banker, what he told me is that, look, I think the cheapest interest rate you are going to get is about 25%. How can anybody finance that? You understand what I'm saying? So, unfortunately, we had the Nigerian Mortgage Finance Company, NMRC, which was supposed to help with interest rates on mortgage and finance mortgage and loans. But unfortunately, that has not helped in any way because of the CBN policy. So until we look at our interest rates, nothing is going to happen with mortgage, and it's not going to help in the housing sector. So it's still the same problem. There's a lot of things that we need to fix as far as housing is concerned in Nigeria. Still have a government policy.
All right. Thank you very much for that. But just before we move on from this story, speaking of distressed sales, I know it may seem too good to be true. You have good properties going for cheap prices, but then just as FUAD would always say, ensure you carry out your proper due diligence, because there are risks that comes with such as legal issues. You don't know what exactly went wrong for it to have gone on distress sale. More details on page 27 of the Guardian newspaper. We also have here Babalola urges Tinubu to lobby for debt relief. I don't know when Sage started advising the incoming president, but then let's see what we have on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper. All right, founder of Afe Babalola University, Ado Ekiti, has asked the incoming administration of the president-elect Bola Tinubu to borrow a cue from former President Olusegun Obasanjo and prioritize Nigeria's debt forgiveness from creditor countries as well as bilateral financial institutions. FUAD, debt management.
Well, again, during the Obasanjo era, yes, we did that. Some of our debts were written off and with some conditions attached to it. But here we are now, we've ramped up the debt again. I think we're dealing with about 77 trillion
Yes.
Debt profile as a country. So it's not just to, if we try our luck and it happens, it's not a bad thing to seek debt forgiveness from our creditor nations. It's not a problem. But the question is going forward, are we not going to continue to still borrow? Okay, you write for debt forgiveness, they forgive you, but there are no plans to ensure self-sufficiency when it comes to our financing. Then what happens?
Revenue generation
we
as
start
well.
there's a problem with revenue generation. We still have, high cost of government, and all manner of borrowing that do not justify anything really. So if we are not able to really address our revenue issues, because it's one thing to be forgiving when it comes to debt relief and all of that, but how do you ensure self-sufficiency? How do you ensure, that the country is solvent enough to be able to take care of its local needs when it comes to infrastructure provision, cost of governance, and all of that? That's what I think the government should focus on. I agree that we can seek for debt forgiveness because, again, 77 trillion is something too big for us to handle. I think one of the recent reports that we read out says that about 90% of our revenue will be used for debt services. So, and if we are dealing with 11 trillion, about 11 trillion budget deficit, it's important that we look at debt issues. And that's why Bernard Kabwezi, the minister, the man in charge of our debt, is already warning us very seriously that if you look at our revenue to debt profile, we're going to run into trouble if we don't look at doing something about it now. So we need to look at our revenue issues. That's why I talked about quick wins by this incoming administration. And the quick thing for me would be for them to focus on the oil sector that seems to account for about 80 to 90% of our revenue. Fix the issues there. Fix the corruption in that sector. Ensure we earn enough and we're able to account for what we earn.
All right, thank you very much. You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM, and this is Trends in the Papers. My name is OMOBOLA Sandra. We're looking through trending stories on the front pages of our dailies. We'll be doing this up until 8:30 a.m. Also, we are live on Facebook and YouTube. Do follow us and, follow the show as it goes. And you can as well drop your comments in the comment section at Mainland 98.3 FM. Now we're moving on to the Punch newspaper, and the major headline there says Dangote refinery opens today. Eyes crude oil from 3 continents. And we have riders to that. Buhari, Tinubu, African leaders, others to attend launching. Refinery to meet daily fuel consumption and create 1,000 jobs. High expectations as we had discussed. But let's see what else the Punch will be giving us as regards this major trending story this morning. All right, so we have here that data in a document obtained from the company on Sunday show that the Dangote refinery could support the establishment of 26,706 filling stations, create 100,000 direct and indirect jobs, and also provide a $21 billion market for Nigerian crude oil annually. There's a lot of expectations for it. Don't you think we should go and buy a filling station somewhere and just wait for Dangote to start producing?
I wish I had the money to. I wish I had the money to set up a filling station. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't have that kind of money. But I'm cautiously optimistic. We've had situations where things like these have been inaugurated with so much hopes.
This is a private one, FUAD. I understand that the Nigerian government may have served you breakfast, countless of times, but this is a private refinery. Don't you think, let's put our hands in the air and just...
I really don't want to do this morning, but I remember there was a time the same Dangote, I think some years, promised that it was going to crash the price of cement to 1,000 naira. Yes, I remember that. In fact, as a journalist, I wrote that story, and he gave reasons of the way he was expanding his production, the support he was getting from government, and all of that. And that, look, the price of cement was going to drop to 1,000, that he was going to ensure that happened. What do we have today? Cement is close to 5,000 naira per bag. So, if you understand why I'm a bit cautiously optimistic, about this launching, you understand. So let's just, again, for me, it's too early to celebrate. But again, it is important that we congratulate the richest man in Africa, Dangote, for achieving this. All the governors will be there. I know they will all be there.
Well, there's a lot of pomp and pageantry that's expected at that place today. I can't even begin to imagine those people who will be commuting along the Lekki axis today in Lagos, because what we have is that it's with the president, of course, is expected. The presidents of Ghana, Togo, Senegal, Niger, Chad are also expected. The presidents of Rwanda. Okay, he won't be able to make it physically. Yes, but he will send a message virtually. All 36 state governors, most of the governors-elect, ministers, senators, captains of industry, and others from outside.
It's a big one for Nigeria.
It is a big one for Nigeria. There's so much excitement, in the air. Just like I said, I don't think I would advise anyone to go. If you're getting married on the island, probably should postpone to just get married in your house, because it's going to be
on a Monday.
I'm just saying, if anybody is getting married on the island today, it's just, probably just take pictures and do pre-wedding, party or post-wedding party later. But more details on page 27. There's a lot of excitement in the air, high expectations, and we'll see how things will turn out. The detail is on page 27 of the Punch newspaper. Moving on from that, we have, "Don't judge me based on performance as minister," says Akpabio. And that is on page 42. Now we're going into politics. What do we have here? Former governor of Akwa Ibom State, Godswill Akpabio, has called on Nigerians and members of the incoming 10th National Assembly not to assess him using his brief tenure. He called it brief.
Yeah, it was a bit brief, nothing major.
It was brief. Was it not 6 years?
No, I don't think it spans up to that. I'm trying to check it now, but I'm sure the story will have it.
All right.
I don't think it spans was brief.
Okay. What we have is simple. He's saying that he should be judged by him being governor for 8 years, him being a commissioner for 6 years, and him being a lawyer for 36 years, and that should be what he should be judged by. Okay. Yes, that's what we have.
Well, Godswill Akpabio, I must say that when it comes to judging him with his performance as governor in Akwa Ibom State, I must say that, look, he did very, very well. Relatively, if you were going to compare him to other governors in that region at that time. And again, we have to be careful. Again, we are comparing him now to other governors in his era. Because I visited Akwa Ibom State, and I must say that, look, if there's a state in Nigeria with some of the best roads, it has to be Akwa Ibom State. And all of those things happened during his tenure as governor. That's why they call him, I think, the uncommon transformer or something. Transformation, there's a name they give to him, which came from what he was able to achieve in terms of infrastructure in Akwa Ibom State. A lot of people still accept the fact that, look,
I'm sorry, FUAD, because
yeah.
I just want to ask, yes, he did amazing things, but are we really going to forget, Honorable Minister, off your mic so soon? I'm just asking.
I'm coming to that one.
Because you don't have so much time.
But it is wrong for him to say, look, it is wrong for him to pick and what we should judge him by, if you understand what I'm saying. If he says, oh, judge me by what I did as governor, as commissioner, also look at what I did. He should be able to tell us what he did as minister. So why is he exempting that? Why is he saying, no, don't look at that one? We should look at everything, because all of his performance as a public servant is what we should bring us to the table now. Oh, when he was governor, what did he do? Commissioner, what did he do? When he was minister, what did he do? So I don't know why he wants us, maybe because, the era was so disruptive, there was a lot of problems with that ministry. and of course the off your mic incidents will not go so easily. But the reality is that, look, whether we like it or not, is the chosen one by the APC and the president-elect, and there's a little that we can do about whether it would emerge or not. At the inauguration of the 10th Assembly, it will be left for the senators to decide whether they want him as Senate President. And of course, we'll now start to judge him by his performance as Senate President should he emerge.
All right. Thank you very much, FUAD. The detail is on page 42. Yes. We have details on page 42 of the Punch newspaper. Senator Godswill Akpabio saying, "Don't judge me based on performance as minister," saying that it was brief. He had a short stint as minister of the Niger Delta Development Commission.
Brief with a lot
Niger
of
Delta Affairs.
Interesting drama.
I can't forget to. Off your mic. No.
Nobody forget.
Nobody can forget.
But the mic has still been off, really. The mic was not.
Nobody's saying anything. The mic has been permanently shut off.
Off.
All right. Thank you very much. Still on the front page of.
But that Professor Ponde that on that day. Remember him?
The one that fainted.
There was somebody that fainted. The DG of the NDDC.
He fainted now. Very unfortunate situation. Yeah. It was live. He fainted live on air. Live on,
oh my goodness.
broadcast. It was very, that day was quite dramatic. I need to give it to, I don't think it's something that we can ever forget. So I think Senator Godswill Akpabio should just have it at the back of his mind that it's always going to be there. Still on the front page of the Punch newspaper, we also have here a very interesting major trending story. Presidential Poll Tribunal. So the court is going to rule today whether or not we'll be having a live broadcast of the presidential election petition tribunal. So we'll see how that will turn out today. Let's not forget that Atiku Abubakar, standard bearer of the PDP, had asked for live broadcast in order for Nigerians for transparency and for Nigerians to follow, the process. However, INEC, APC, President-elect Bola Tinubu, Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima have come forward to say, it's going to disrupt court process. So they have, moved the motion to stop that particular petition. So the court is going to rule today whether or not, we are going to have a live broadcast of the court proceedings of the presidential election petitions. The story is on page 2. By the way, of the Punch newspaper. Can get more details there. All right, that is all we have from the Punch newspaper. Let's move on now very quickly to Vanguard newspaper. It still trends in the papers on mainland 98.3 FM. And the major trending story on the front page of Vanguard: manufacturers in dire straits as unsold goods hit 470 billion naira. We have here MEN that's Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, points at low purchasing power and cash crunch. As 2023 FPM tax hike threatens sector survival, FMCGs, fast-moving consumer goods, report up to 60% sales drop. People are not buying things. There's no money.
Yeah, they don't have the money. You go use paper buy them.
Why are we not buying things? Let's buy things. We need things.
It's about the price too. When the cost of production goes up and the price of these commodities are too high, and unfortunately people don't have the money to buy. So what happens?
Well, as it is now, the Nigerian manufacturing sector is struggling with rising levels of unsold goods. There's an inventory stockpile of up to 22%. In 2022, we had 384.58 billion in 2022, and now it has gone up to about 469.66 billion. And industry operators are saying the situation is getting worse. So looking at what could be the reason, we have low purchasing powers. Factories are looking at there are some factories that are facing imminent closure.
Closing down operation.
Yes. We also have significant sales drop. We have the fact that fast-moving consumer goods industries are kicking against excessive taxation. We've always talked about heavy taxes on the manufacturing industry. And also we're also looking at inflationary pressure. Dr. Chinyere Almona,
Rising
Director
cost.
General of the LCCI, lamented that the rising inflationary pressure has significant and worrisome impact on both households and business sectors. Inflation is about 22% right now. Yes.
Yeah, 22%, about 22.3 or so percent. Yeah.
Yes. So that is also putting some sort of pressure on purchasing power and also operation costs. FUAD. Well,
But
I know we are looking
again,
forward to a new admission, but then I mean, what's the way forward for this? Can we survive this?
I don't know. The way forward, I really don't know, I must say, because, again, I think the first thing we need to look at is how do we support the manufacturing sector? And support would mean how do we reduce the cost of production? Very, very important. We have to look at the tax regime on the manufacturing sector. Probably we'll have to look at tax waivers. And for them, unfortunately, this is a government that needs a lot of money. So it's between the devil and the deep blue sea for us now. But I also think that why I say we need to fix our energy issues. If you go into the manufacturing sector, a lot of manufacturers will tell you that about 60% of cost of production to powering their plants, which is about diesel costs and all of these kinds of things. Because you have a lot of factory lines that when they start operation, they must not shut down until production is completed. So you have them running 24/7 on generator. They can't even afford to go on public power because of the way their manufacturing lines are structured. So it is important. Look, there is no country that thrives when it comes to the economy without fixing their power problems. We need to resolve that issue. It's embarrassing that we are still hovering between 3,000 to 4,000 megawatts as a country, the largest economy in Africa.
We will soon break record. Have you forgotten?
You know how many times?
99.
Collapse,
99 in
99.
8 years. 99. So before May 29, we have one. That's 100 times. That would be
Maybe
amazing.
100.
That would be amazing. But then more details of the manufacturers in dire straits as unsold goods hit 470 billion naira. Stories on page 23. I have some major stories here. I just want to quickly, put them out. Fuad, you can, put them all together as we wrap things up on trends in the papers. All right, we have this major trending story over the weekend. CCTV project. Account for $460 million Chinese loan. Court orders federal government. That is on page 31. Just very, very quickly, what that story is about, just in case someone is wondering. This CCTV story I've been reading about, what is it about? Okay, so as it is now, a federal high court in Abuja has ordered the federal government to account for how they spent the $460 million Chinese loan that was meant to fund the failed Abuja CCTV project. Stories on page 4.
And if you account for it now.
That's all. We'll just leave it at that.
I think what they need to do basically is to write the EFCC to start the investigation.
To check this.
Simple as it is.
Very simple. All right, stories on page 31 of Vanguard. Moving on now, we also have insecurity gave me sleepless nights, says ex-president Goodluck Jonathan. The story is on page 12. That's interesting. We also have here 1999 Constitution. States have reduced to pathetic beggars, says Akere Dolu. That's another interesting story that I saw on the front page this morning. I wonder why the states have to. States can generate. Why they have to be reduced to pathetic beggars? That's a very interesting read.
As much as we call for devolution of power, resource control, so that states can earn more, we also have to look at how some of these state governments also manage the resources of their state. Some of them have labor loans, and when they deduct at first, they are left with nothing really. So that's why some of them can't even pay salary.
All right, and finally, it's not really on the papers this morning. I was looking forward to having a conversation around that. Is Yeson Wike and El Rufai seem to be having amazing times in recent times. It's almost like Uh,
It's
they,
understandable.
they have become best friends. It's a very interesting one to look at. I mean, politics will always give you things to that would amaze you. I'll just leave it
To
at
reflect on.
that. All right, that's all we can take this morning on Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. We'll be back by 8:40 for Mainland Focus, where we'll pick 2 or 3 trending stories and then open up the full line for you to join in on the conversation. My name is OMOBOLA Sandra. This is Mainland 98.3 FM. We'll be right back.
I had a rumor.